Yeah, I can. Yeah. Okay, let's get started. This is a meeting to discuss using Git for the repeatable DB provisioning project. Share my screen. So the reason why I called this is because I had a discussion earlier today about where we are with using Git and Terraform, and I think we've been able to kick the tires in the last like 2 weeks, and I wanted to check in to make sure we're still happy with Git and with Git and using Get's Ansible and Terraform config. I put a lot of notes in the agenda. I don't think we need to walk through all of them, but I'm more curious what Alejandro and Ahmad. I'd like to take your temperature on where you sit right now with this and whether you think we should continue trying to invest time in using Git. I know that we've trying to push a lot of changes upstream. I have a lot of open issues for feature gaps, and we're going to need to close those. And I'm just worried based on how things are going that we're not going to be able to move fast enough.
Yeah, my impression has also been increasingly that we will benefit from just having the code that we need of Git into our repository. The minor advantages of not having to deal with the code that we don't need, but also I experienced it with the Bastion, which is that the Bastion setup will be much easier if I could change Git. So yeah, it is my impression that we could just grab what we need at the current state of Git. And my concern initially with doing that was losing on the improvements that the Git team will do. But what seems to be my impression now is that the direction they move towards is not the one that we move towards. So improvement that they do are not usually things that we take advantage of, I think. So it might be fine to just take what we need and continue down our own path.
Yeah, I have similar thoughts to that. I know Grant unfortunately is out, so he can't speak to this, but my impression so far is that Git is being used for the reference architecture provisioning and doing a pretty good job at that. But we're going to have needs that are going to go beyond that for just the operational, like operating the clusters, and also I'm also a little bit worried about maintaining backwards compatibility as we go in Git, because some of the things that we're going to need to add are going to have to be probably toggled off by default. And thinking in terms of like ILB, NAT, signing subnets, all of these things are pretty specific to .com. Yeah, I also cannot hear you. I guess is there anyone from quality on the call that has thoughts on this or not?
Yes, I've joined
Oh, hey.
Ingress. So yeah, I'm just part of working on Git. Like I say, I think the current stats, like I say, we do focus on the reference architectures, and we do focus on what's most usable to the biggest audience, I suppose. So like you say, when it comes to changes that you might need, which are for .com, I think we've said from the beginning, .com is its own monster. It does things because of the scale and size that it is. They're not necessarily things that normal reference, even 50,000, that we need to worry about. So there is a lot of custom stuff that you want. Like Alejandro says, I don't know if there's a good way of giving you a layer on top of Git, so that, like I say, if we are adding things that are useful to you, it can still be, rather than just saying, well, we've added this, you kind of need to do it yourselves now, because if there's a good way of actually keeping some of it up to date, would be nice. But certainly I think there's a lot of changes, certainly just reading through the documentation here, there is a lot of changes that would be hard for us to, I think it's just hard for us to prioritize, or like I say, keeping a in a way that the majority of cases aren't going to use.
Yeah, I think this is going to be more and more difficult as more people use Get for reference architecture. I'm not sure how, I mean, I think like it's a charter of Get to maintain backwards compatibility. And this can be really tricky with Terraform because Terraform is not a very good tool for composability. Like when you have, you know, a lot of different uses, and it's just not flexible that way. So I think that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, we've started having that
yeah.
conversation a little bit now of
Yeah.
that backwards compatibility and how it's going to affect us. And it's like we say, it's one of those things that over time can just get worse and worse as well, as well for us actually being able to test it all. So it's a big thought at the moment of we're trying to correctly work out how to do that.
Okay, so on item number 7, I kind of like gave us the options for moving forward. First of all, I think on the Terraform side of things, we're not really using a whole lot. There's the GCP instance module and then the wrapper modules, which are really just modules that reference the GCP instance module. I guess my preference is to bring this into DB provisioning. Alejandro, Ahmad, since you're closest to this, what do you think? Like, you think it's worth keeping the module, or do you think we should bring it in?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like for Ansible, I feel 100% that we should bring stuff to our project because we're going to change a lot of stuff. But for Terraform, I feel less strongly about it, like because it's not just the GCP instance model. We're also using the reference architecture stuff, right? Which provisions the number of bucks of PD bounds and the number of patroni boxes. Yeah.
But this is just a wrapper, right? Over the, like, it's just sets up variables for, it's basically a wrapper module so that you can call the GCP instance module multiple times. Right now it is.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering how this will work with your NAT changes. Like that'll have to be done in a way that makes it so that we have one NAT per environment or one NAT per cluster. And I think in the Get terms, that would be like one NAT per prefix, right?
Yeah. So that
one NAT per what? Per
prefix, like the prefix. I left a comment on that MR, like saying how, because I think you added the NAT to the GCP instance module, right?
No, I added it to the reference architecture.
Oh, to the reference architecture module. Okay, so then it would be one, because I wasn't even sure like whether we need to have more flexibility on the number of NATs we create and how they relate to the database clusters. Like right now we're using, I think what we're going to do is have multiple, we plan to have multiple clusters within a project, within an environment. And we're using the prefix variable, the var.prefix, to separate out each cluster. So I guess then it would be one NAT per prefix or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right that the NAT stuff will be better to implement in the Get project. And then again, this is not something like a NAT is not something that is a priority for the quality team for the reference architecture. So I guess that pushes us in the same direction that you're pointing to, which is just bring over what we need.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, okay, so maybe it sounds like maybe we should just continue to use the Terraform in Get for now, and like we can check in again in like a week or so to see if we're still happy with that. It's so easy for us just to pull it out if we have to. So, and we can use our integration branch. So it sounds like that's what you prefer for now. Is just
no, I was actually kind of agreeing with you of bringing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't express myself correctly.
Okay.
I was kind of agreeing. My point was that because the NAT thing is better implemented in the Get project. But that is not a priority for the for the quality team. Let's just bring what we need. Let's just copy, stop importing Get, copy the things that we need, and just work on our own repository.
So you're saying not only bring in, you mean like completely divorce ourselves from
Yes.
Get Terraform? Okay.
Yes.
Ahmad, do you have any opinion on this or not?
Well, so far from what I've seen, I haven't really run into any trouble using Terraform as it stands right now. So I'm not sure in the future how it's gonna be. So yeah, I agree. We should wait a little, see how our usage is gonna differ from Get, and take steps accordingly. But overall, and this is just my feeling, I'm not really. I feel the indirection of using Git behind the scene is a bit too much. No actual reason behind it, but the thing that the level of indirection is not making me very comfortable. Like when I need, I'm just seeing in the future, maybe later on when we have like actual clusters and I need to debug what's going on or how things are provisioned, I need to go through our repository first and go to Git, see how it's done behind the scenes, and I don't even know what Git does a layer behind it. So maybe go back to Omnibus and so on. I'm just not advocating to dropping Git, but it's just my feeling. But I guess we're gonna have a better understanding later on when we have like something that resembles a working cluster like Console, BG Bouncer, Patroni, and see how it all fits together. And then we can decide if we want to keep using Get, or just like you and Alejandro said, just bring in the stuff we need and just maintain it in our repository.
Yeah, I mean, I get the sense so far is like where we can use Get are for very simple things, but if they're very simple, it almost like doesn't even make sense to use Get because we can, just copy it locally. There just isn't a lot of configuration. For the things that are more complex, that's where we run into a lot of problems. And where I'm seeing the complexity is around Patroni and using Omnibus for Patroni as well. Like for the console server, I mean, obviously like this is fairly straightforward. Maybe like we could use Get, but then again, there isn't like a whole lot of logic there. It's just setting up a really simple basic instance, installing the package, and the template is not very big. Like it's, there isn't a whole lot. I guess as far as like what to do next, we have already decided to not use Ansible Get for PG Bouncer. I don't know. So Alejandro, then do you just want to like should we just bring in the Terraform then, and including your NAT? Because I think we need to get this NAT change done soon.
I would say so. I will be interested in hearing if Ahmad's thing is premature, but I will be in favor of doing it now.
I'm afraid I really have, I don't know the change you're referring to. Do you have a link to it?
Not just necessarily just related to that change. Just, do you think it's premature if we do the approach of copying and maintaining just our repository? If you think it's premature to do it now?
Well, I would say let's just try and keep all the components we need to have like a resemblance of a working cluster right now. And once we do so, I guess we can evaluate. Just because there's only 3 of us working on it, maybe we can just focus on the Ansible stuff for now. And once we're done with that, maybe we can focus on Terraform. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Go ahead.
Go ahead, Alejandro, or go ahead.
I was
Alejandro.
gonna say, I mean, we can go ahead for the next step. We can go ahead with the approach of working with the integration branch. That will work. That will work for a while longer, because it's basically like doing changes in Get. It's basically the same thing. So I think we can go on with that approach for at least for the next stuff.
So let's say we'll continue with the integration branch for Terraform for at least another week. And we can see where we stand after that. And for the Ansible stuff, I don't think we need to touch console. Like, it's working. Hopefully, like, we won't need to make any changes there. And then we'll see how things look with Patroni. I think I can just demo this today on my branch, because I have the Patroni, like using Get and Omnibus, I have Patroni configured. But I think overall, like, I am also worried about the indirection and the complexity of having both local chef run and Ansible. And it sounds like we're going to have to use our own PG bouncer, because Omnibus doesn't support having multiple PG bouncers per replica. So we're going to have to do that anyway. So I'm not sure if it will make sense to use Omnibus for Patroni and then, our own stuff for PG bouncer. It just sounds kind of messy.
Yeah, I know this was something that I was having another conversation with Jose, and he was also kind of concerned about the fact that inside Omnibus you have Chef, but then we have to do stuff through Ansible and having this mixed approach.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just adding one point here. For any maintenance we do, talking about GitLab.com, we are trying to reach like the minimum downtime possible or near zero downtime. And if we will need to wait for a chef inside of Omnibus to execute changes, I'm concerned with that. Besides what I think Jav pointed here, having a homogeneous approach for all the components, I think is better. If you are not using Get for PG Bouncer and Patroni, I would encourage to as well not use it for console. This is, as you explained it as well, a more simple approach. No?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be too complicated for us to redo console. There's just not much to it. I don't know, what is maybe Ahmad, you're closest to this. Like, what is your sense of like configuring Patroni outside of Omnibus, since you've done this already? I think you already have gone through this since we wrote the Patroni cookbooks, or maybe that was you, Alejandro, I'm not sure. But what is your sense for the complexity and the work for getting this working in Ansible? Is it going to be like a pretty big task, or is it going to be similar to what was done for PG Bouncer, which didn't seem like it took long at all?
Yeah, I would say if we're gonna write it ourselves, it's similar to what we did to PG Bouncer.
Yeah.
So it's just nothing much. We just installed Python and Patroni on top of it and configure a bunch of things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so then I think we can close this out as saying we're going to continue to use the integration branch for Terraform. We'll see, we'll take another look at using Omnibus Patroni, but I think it sounds like what we probably want to do is start with creating our own Ansible role for Patroni outside of Omnibus. And then I would say also probably use, I think, Ahmad, you were saying how using Omnibus just for the console agent seems a bit heavy, and I tend to agree. So maybe, we consider that as well.
Just to offer a little bit of pushback, something that that I think we might be overestimating is I wouldn't necessarily see if we use Patroni with Omnibus, I wouldn't necessarily see it as we are using Chef. Like I would see it as a black box. You just feed Omnibus configuration through the GitLab RB, and then the way it does it is not something that we directly manage. It happens to be through Chef, but it's not like we are integrating Chef into our infrastructure. I think I was just gonna say that the objection to that would be, well, you still have the Chef waiting that we don't want for production changes.
Yeah, you're adding one layer of iteration more. So if we could avoid it, like I think we are gaining performance and be more straightforward to achieve our goals. It's my opinion, looking for what I know. Thank you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and just to say, with regards to it being too heavy for single components, I think that's only true of the installation, right? Like once it's running, if you have all the other services disabled, it's not heavy in execution time. It's just heavy in that you are installing the whole package and not using most of it. But when you're just running console, it's just like you install console manually, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just also thinking in terms of like upgrades and well, mostly upgrades, where to upgrade the console, the upgrade console, it requires pulling down this 800 megabyte package. Whereas if we install console outside of Omnibus, it's much better, right? And what we've seen where we have used Omnibus in this way is that we tend to pin the packages and avoid upgrades because we're always worried about unexpected side effects of things that the Omnibus does that we don't like. It's just it's more opaque to us what is going to happen on the reconfigure than it would be if we had Ansible. So I think that's Ansible doing it directly. So that's another thing. But maybe let's say we'll just put off. I'll say we'll put off porting console server, and then we'll evaluate using Omnibus or Patroni for now, and then I guess we'll check in like next week to see where we end up with that. So I guess like not much has changed, except I think I get the feeling that we're probably going to land where we're using our own Ansible roles for Patroni. But it doesn't seem like it's urgent for us to make the decision now. Does it sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.